Hey guys, this is God of Politics. Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm doing another election prediction, and this election prediction is for Donald Trump, the incumbent president, versus Michael Bloomberg, the billionaire and former mayor of New York City. Now, for Michael Bloomberg to become the nominee, he has actually fallen to third place in the betting odds now after a very poor debate performance in the first one, and some people say he did better in the second. I think it's definitely treated better, but did he do well? A lot of people don't think so. So he's fallen to third place in the betting odds, but he still does have a path to victory. He has a good campaign running in the Super Tuesday states. So there is a chance that if Joe Biden falls off, which I had predicted could happen, Michael Bloomer could rise up and get the nomination over Sanders, possibly in a contested convention. But this will be the general election prediction, assuming it is Michael Bloomberg versus Donald Trump. We will start off, as always, with the safe states. First for Donald Trump, all of these states here: North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and South Carolina would all be safe to Donald Trump. That puts him at 125 safe electoral votes. And for Michael Bloomberg, California, Oregon, Washington, as well as Illinois, Hawaii, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., and Maine's 1st District. That puts Michael Bloomberg at 183 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 125 electoral votes. And we will now fill off the likely lean and tilt states. I think first we'll start off with the Northeast. Maine at large will go by tilt margin. Actually, we'll put it at a lean margin. Maine at large will go by a lean margin, and Maine second will go by a likely margin. I've put a lot of candidates that put the Maine 2nd District for a safe margin for Donald Trump, but Michael Bloomberg is from the Northeast, and he is a centrist. He might be able to get some of those voters that are also going to be going for Susan Collins, assuming she is able to win. The state of New Hampshire, I believe, would go by a tilt margin to Michael Bloomberg. This is a state that Hillary Clinton barely won. It is a more liberal state. It did do well for people like Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. Obviously, not all of them are left-leaning. And Donald Trump has done very well here. He did very well in the primary. There's a lot of registered Republicans here. It is a smaller state. The voters are more volatile. They'll be able to be moved to the Republican side more. But I still think at the end of the day with Michael Bloomberg, it'll be a tilt margin for the state of New Hampshire to Michael Bloomberg. Virginia, I think, will be a likely margin. A lot of people are saying Virginia could be closer because it was only close last. It was only a large victory in the state due to the fact that Tim Kaine was the senator from Vermont was the running mate. I disagree. I think that the state, as we can clearly see, first went for 30 years in 2008 to Barack Obama. It has gone blue ever since, even to Hillary Clinton. And I think that this trend will stay, especially if you have someone corporate who can spend a lot of money. He did spend a lot of money in the Virginia state legislature elections here. And I think that would give him a likely margin in terms of the presidential race. North Carolina will go by a lead margin. I think this might be a little bit closer than it was last time. It was 5 points against Hillary Clinton. Michael Bloomberg, I'm sure, would do a bit better here, being able to get some of the voters in these cities out to vote more, a lot of the black voters. And Michael Bloomberg actually does well with a lot of people attack him for his policies on stop and frisk and everything, but he does very well with the black community in terms of voting. So I believe he'd be able to turn out a lot of those voters. North Carolina has a lot of black voters, but it would not be enough to get him over the top, and it would be a lean margin for Donald Trump. Same thing with Georgia. It would also be a lean margin. You see the straight has been trending blue here. We saw the 2018 governor's election, which was a wave year for Democrats, and Democrats were almost able to win this state, a state that hasn't gone, I think, since 96 to Bill Clinton being from the South himself. And then before that, it was Carter being from the state of Georgia himself. But in terms of the trends that we've been seeing, Hillary Clinton was able to trend this state blue, especially in the Atlanta suburbs, those areas. That we saw Obama was not able to do well here, even himself being a black voter, and that shows that it's not necessarily turning out the black voters, which Michael Bloomberg is doing good at, but it is also turning out the voters, the suburban voters, swinging those voters to the left. I think that Michael Bloomberg, being a centrist, would be able to do that. Florida, I believe, would go by tilt margin. This will be one of the very close states of the night, maybe the closest. We've seen in a lot of the polls, for example, we had a new poll that had Bloomberg up by 6, whereas the second highest candidate that was up, the only other candidate that was up was Joe Biden, who was up by 1. And that was an interesting poll because it shows that Michael Bloomberg actually has an ability to win here, more of an ability to win here than any of the other candidates, certainly. There is a Jewish population here. Bloomberg Bloomberg calls him in New York's sixth borough, because a lot of Jewish people go to Florida, things like that. He'd also be able to get a lot of the voters in the Panhandle and turn out the voters in Miami-Dade and Broward County. And it would be a tilt margin to Donald Trump. It hasn't gone to a non-incumbent since Henry Clay in 1924 against Calvin Coolidge, so it has been almost 100 years. 96 it'll be this year since it has gone to a non-incumbent. I don't think it'll happen this time, but it'll be a very close margin for Donald Trump, although he will win the state. The state of Texas will go by a lean margin as well. This state has been trending blue. I think most people can't argue against that. Barack Obama lost it by 17 in 2012, and Hillary lost it by 9, and Beto O'Rourke lost it by 2. And you aren't going to see it suddenly flip another 7 points to the left. But you will see it be a bit closer to the presidential race, probably by around 4 points. If you have someone like Michael Bloomberg, who is the nominee, I'm not sure who is running. Maybe it would be probably a person of color, definitely, I think, to turn out those voters especially. But I think in Texas, he has the ideas, although the gun violence thing will hurt him. The climate change thing might hurt him as well. I think he is going to do better in this state than most other candidates would, and get it a lot closer than it ever has been in a very long time. New Mexico will go by a likely margin, and Colorado will also go by a likely margin. Both of these states are more left-leaning. Michael Bloomberg is not as left-leaning on some issues like marijuana and things like that, but he is left-leaning on issues like gay marriage and things like that, as he has shown while he was mayor of New York City. I think that might bode well for him in states like New Mexico and Colorado, which are very similar. They will have Senate elections here as well, which is going to be important here. But in terms of the presidential election, I think that these states are going to go both by likely margins. Not much to say about this. Donald Trump could make a play, especially in New Mexico. His policies have definitely helped a lot of those people there, his economic policies. And I think he could make a run for that state. But overall, I think he will lose them by a likely margin. Arizona as well. You could actually easily put this state with Michael Bloomberg in the blue column, I think. But I will put it in a tilt for the Republican, for Donald Trump. It has been trending blue, as we have seen. The Democrats won a Senate seat here with a moderate Democrat in a wave year. They won by about 2.5%. Michael Bloomberg, you could argue, is even more moderate than Kirsten Sinema on certain things. And I think that could be good for him in a trending state that has a lot of voters in Maricopa County who may not have wanted to go to a Democrat before. And you also will have Mormons and stuff like that who may have voted for a Democrat before, might not vote for Michael Bloomberg because he is Jewish. He is a bit more secular, things like that. But the state will go by till March, and this will be a very close state as well, similar to Florida. Michael Bloomberg will be able to harness the trends about the moderate voters that people like Bernie Sanders will not be able to get. The state of Nevada, I am going to put this also at a tilt margin to Michael Bloomberg. I almost want to put this in Donald Trump's column because this state generally is a very socially liberal state, a very economically liberal state. It's a very liberal state overall for the Democrats that are registered Democrats. It was a closed caucus. We saw Bernie Sanders did very well here because there are a lot of liberal voters that turned out for him here. And Michael Bloomberg may not be able to do well in these states, especially because of the fact that he can campaign here, do all things like that. And Donald Trump might be able to make a play in this state for the Latino voters that might turn out for him in this election rather than Michael Bloomberg. But I do think at the end of the day, it's just too blue at this point to go back to the red column, and I don't think that there will be enough of a swing to bring it back to the red column. Going over here to Nebraska's 2nd district, and I believe that'll go by a lead margin. Democrats would have won this district in the congressional race. They didn't run a Bernie bro. They'd run someone like Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg won't be able to win this because it's not a wave or everything like that. But he will definitely make it closer than I think any other candidate. Iowa will be a likely margin. We saw this state with Donald Trump by 10 points. That'll be a little bit closer as we see. Iowa, I think, will go by a lean margin. Both these states are very related in certain ways, manufacturing-based, Rust Belt kind of area. Iowa's a bit more Republican than Ohio. They have been trending to the red column. I think Michael Bloomberg would be able to bring those trends a bit back with the more moderate voters that might have gone Obama, Trump, or even Obama, Romney, Trump. He might be able to get some of those voters to come across the aisle and vote for him. But these states would both go to Donald Trump. Anyway, Minnesota, I believe Michael Bloomberg would also win by a tilt margin. This would be a very close state as well. For some reason, it does very well with people. It votes for a lot of people like Bernie Sanders for some reason, and it did vote for Amy Klobuchar, which gives me, it shows me that a moderate can win here, although it is a more liberal state in some ways. And it has been Republican. I don't think it hasn't been a Republican since 1984, I think it is, and Donald Trump was almost able to win it, but he didn't win it. And that's why I think that Michael Bloomberg, although he has a lot of money that could hurt him in some ways, I think that he'll still end up winning this state. And now for the three Rust Belt states, I think there will Wisconsin and Pennsylvania will go by tilt margins to Donald Trump, and Michigan will go by tilt margin to Michael Bloomberg. These states are going to be undoubtedly the closest of the night. They were the closest last time, and they'll be the closest this time. You see, Pennsylvania has a lot of the voters that went Obama, Trump. Michael Bloomberg will be able to get a lot of those voters back, and same thing in Wisconsin. He won't be able to get enough voters back that are voting for Trump based on the economy to flip it blue. However, that will happen in Michigan. Michigan is traditionally a more blue state. It went to Obama by 17 in 2008. And then you saw John James last year in 2018 by 7 points to Debbie Stabenow, a longtime Republican, who has also been more moderate. You could argue the Senate seat might flip red here, but I think that in this case, Michigan would go blue, but Wisconsin and Pennsylvania would go red, purely because of the fact that Michigan's a more traditionally blue state. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania have been a bit more conservative leaning. They both have Republican senators, and Donald Trump, assuming the economy can stay well, will be able to get a lot of the voters who maybe didn't even vote for him last time, who say, sure, the economy is doing well, why would I want to change it, even if someone like Michael Bloomberg is running? What we can see here that we have, first of all, we have Donald Trump at 290 electoral votes to Bloomberg's 248. Donald Trump will be elected for his second term. I predict if Michael Bloomberg is the nominee. But a lot of these states are in very tilt margins. If you give Arizona, Florida, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, he wins in pretty much a landslide. But you give all these states back to him, you see Donald Trump could even gain more. He can win Minnesota, he can win Michigan, he can win New Hampshire, he can win Nevada, and that is going to be important for Donald Trump, but also important for Michael Bloomberg. It'll be a hotly contested election on an expanding battleground map, and that is going to be very important. I think this will be a very interesting election to watch. All the ads and everything that'll be nationwide at this point, just because of how rich they both are. But yeah, I think that at this point it would be Donald Trump 292, Bloomberg 248. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Please like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys later.